Oh, yeah, it's time to say yes to life.
Yeah, and personally, what I've done since I met this man several years ago, many years ago, 7, 8 years ago at this point, is I begun keeping a notebook because one day his cause will definitely be up for canonization.
Yeah.
It is time for a chat with Peter Range and a little segment we call Say Yes to Life. Good morning, Peter.
Hey, good morning, guys. I apologize for my voice a little bit. I'm feeling sick this morning. Once one kid gets sick, you know it's going to hit the entire Range household.
Yeah.
We're all down a little bit. But let me tell you, to start today's segment, you guys have never looked better.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, just really blown away.
I love it when you're
sick.
sick.
Hair today.
We've got filters on this morning.
Yeah, that's right. No, guys, just a couple things I wanted to cover, just kind of around the country, kind of what's happening in the pro-life movement. But I wanted to start with Bishop Daniel Thomas from the Diocese of Toledo. He, of course, is the USCCB pro-life secretariat leader. So he leads kind of the Catholic Church's country's efforts in the pro-life cause. And he had a nice article in Our Sunday Visitor that I just want to draw attention to. And draw attention to what he was drawing attention to. So the first thing that Bishop Thomas really called us to in this pro-life movement was Project Rachel, which is the church's ministry arm to reach out to those who are post-abortive. And Daniel Thomas, in the interview, said that we, of course, recognize abortion is a grave sin, but at the same time, as a church, it's our responsibility, as shepherds in particular, to be able to offer the healing, tender mercy of God, which is extended to anyone, no matter what the sin and no matter what the offense. He said that the Project Rachel ministry is intended to show the merciful face of Jesus, to accompany those who are in such a profound struggle of shame and perhaps anger, of feelings of unworthiness, and of course this misunderstanding that abortion is the unforgivable sin, which is completely false. Bishop Thomas said, Jesus forgives every sin. And no matter the sin, he offers his healing and mercy. I think that's an important message for all of us in the pro-life movement. You know, when we're having an argument, when we're talking with somebody, we got to lead with mercy, lead with grace, lead with Jesus' face, who, you know, I just went to the Sacrament of Reconciliation yesterday, and there is nothing like it. It's nothing like experiencing the grace of Jesus Christ in that sacrament. And so, you know, to invite people to the Sacrament of Mercy, it's just so healing. It's just so profound. And so, again, when we're having these conversations, which are really difficult, and I'm going to talk about some of those difficult things later in the segment, but first and foremost, to remember the face of Christ, which is the face of mercy, not only for those who have had an abortion, but for our own lives and our own sin, because each one of our sins placed Jesus on the cross. And so each one of our sins are something that is abhorrent to God, but to God, he still looks at us as his sons and daughters that he wants to love and he wants to bring back home to his sacred heart through the Immaculate Heart of Mary. All right, the second thing from that article that jumped out at me was, you know, Bishop Thomas just kind of calling out the Trump administration, saying that he was it was surprisingly contradictory that the FDA is conducting a much-needed review of the safety impacts of the abortion pill for women. And we talked about that case with Dr. Abbas last week here, the Toledo doctor who crushed up the abortion pill and forced it down the throat of his girlfriend.
Right.
So we know there's serious issues with the accessibility of the abortion pill. But Bishop Thomas said, you know, I think we can admit, at least as far as research tells us, the FDA, in fact, took shortcuts in approving and loosening protocols for mifepristone. And that was under the Obama administration and then the President Biden in 2021 when he kind of released all regulations on the abortion pill where you could get it over line. So Bishop Thomas finished that it enabled the killing of more children and placed the health of more women in danger. So it's really important that as we lead with mercy, we fight for justice. And again, to be reaching out, CCV, the Center for Christian Virtue, we put out an action alert. Reach out to the FDA and tell them that we want common sense regulations back on the abortion pill. I mentioned Dr. Abbas, just want to catch up on that story. The Lucas County prosecutor said that she is considering a criminal indictment against Dr. Abbas. I hope that happens very quickly. But doing a little research in 2023, I found that the Charlotte Lozier Institute, they conducted a survey of more than 1,000 women who have had abortions in their past, and the results show that close to 70% of those women who had abortions described them as coerced or pressured or inconsistent with their own values and preferences. So in other words, they didn't want to have them. But over 70% of women being coerced or pressured into abortion, it's just a story that we see far too often. And again, happening in our backyard, it's truly, truly heartbreaking. And so here's the battle. Philadelphia City Council just recently declared abortion as a human right. And they also blasted pregnancy resource centers, which help women, calling them fake clinics that harm women. So that's the battle we're in as a country right now. So yes, we lead with mercy, but got to continue to fight for justice. Last story that stuck out to me was out of Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer just announced a team memorial fund for Marshall Nealon. Unfortunately, he took his own life recently, and so they set up this fund for his girlfriend and his unborn daughter. Want to encourage people to support Sarah, who is the woman, and their preborn baby. And I just want to encourage people to, look, I've experienced really difficult things in life. I've thought at different times, I don't know if my life is worth living. So if you're struggling, if you're hurting, please reach out. Reach out to a family or a friend member, or your church, to your local priest. Go to the sacrament of confession. Sometimes it's a spiritual battle we're fighting. But say yes to life and reach out to a friend. That's what the church is here for.
I love it. And Peter, if you think about it, 70% of women out of that 1,000 women who had abortions surveyed, 70% said they felt coerced or pressured and went against their own conscience, went against the thing that they would normally do. Sounds like the best way to change those numbers with abortion is make sure those women know they have options.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And so much for women's liberation. Abortion doesn't liberate women. It shackles them into a negative choice.
Thank you, Peter Range.
Take care, Pete.